You are listening to the Purpose of Money podcast, a podcast where we talk about ways to build wealth and create more freedom in your life today. I am your host, Aquania Escarnay.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Purpose of Money podcast. Today we're going to talk about digital marketing and why you need it for your business. Tiffany Grant is a money nerd and proud of it. She lives and breathes finances. After years of giving impromptu advice to family and friends, she started a blog and then a podcast called MoneyTalk with T. From a young age, she was always money conscious, clipping coupons, and she started investing at 19 years old. She bought her first house at 26, and her next goal is to be debt-free by age 30. Tiffany, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on.
Yes, absolutely. So I had to bring you on the show today because I just finished taking your digital marketing course, and I definitely wanted to share this information with others because it was an amazing course that I think a lot of entrepreneurs can use no matter what stage they are in their business. But it's specifically good for someone just starting out and is looking to build their audience and really get their business and products out there. But before we jump into your course, can you just give us a little bit of background about what is digital marketing and why does it matter?
Absolutely. So, you might be thinking, okay, Tiffany, what does this have to do with money, right? My whole platform is Money Talk with Tiff, but I've had a lot of people reach out to me trying to figure out how I built this, right? So I was like, okay, let me give people, how I built this brand and how it's recognized all over the world pretty much. But what digital marketing consists of is websites, SEO, blogging, email marketing, podcasting, social media, anything digitally that you use to market your business falls under that digital marketing umbrella. So as you might realize, it's wide, it's wide and far reaching definition, but it is the way of the future. And so if you do not have your digital marketing game on point, then it's going to be almost impossible to find you and for your customers to use your services or products.
I absolutely agree. And I think some people don't realize that. They think, I'm just going to create an awesome product that solves a problem and it's going to take off. And they don't realize, I have to actually promote this too.
Yes, that is so true. And one good example is like my little sister. She has a bomb product. I wish I was wearing it right now, but she makes lip gloss. And when we were out selling it, vending and all that stuff, I was like, sis, where's your website? Where's your business cards? Because at the end of the day, even if you have a bomb product, if people can't find it or find it again, then there's really no point. So, this is just stuff that you have to have as an entrepreneur nowadays, like your grandma would say nowadays.
So I want to kind of get into something you subtly mentioned about building a brand. I remember you were recently featured in Acorns for creating side hustles that were generating at least $10,000 a month. Wow. So I want to know, how many businesses do you currently run and how do you keep it all organized?
So good question. So me and my husband, we currently have 6 businesses. We did have 7, but I let one go last year. So we currently have 6 businesses that we operate. They're all completely different. So as you might imagine, it is very hectic over around these parts. But so we have 6. So of course, there's Money Talk with Tiff. There's Fly Dye Clothing Company. There's Don J's Natural Products. There's Media Key Photo Video. We have a rental property, and I feel like I'm missing one. Wasn't counting when I was naming them off. So charge it to my head, not my heart. But we have all of those businesses going simultaneously, and it does get hectic, but I will say how we keep things in line is, not all of the businesses prosper at the same time, if you know what I mean. So for instance, Fly Dye, we did really, really good over the summer. And so that's like a seasonal thing. It's like summer thing, people wearing tie-dye, things like that. It doesn't really translate too well in the winter. We did do some winter stuff, like some hoodies and things like that, but it's mainly a summer thing. When I do the soaps are occasionally, because that's one of my hobbies. It's not, it didn't start as a business, it started as a hobby. And so I really honestly make soaps for us to use, and then I just sell the extras. So that's only occasionally too. During the pandemic, Money Talk with Tiff kind of came not to a halt, but it slowed down tremendously because a lot of people didn't have extra money to pay for financial or business coaching, or all the speaking engagements that I did have scheduled last year. They all got canceled because of COVID. So, luckily we had other businesses to fall back on, but that's pretty much how we keep everything in order. And then I always like to say it's a team effort. I couldn't do it by myself. My husband couldn't do it by himself. We get our kids involved. Like, it's a whole family businesses pretty much.
I love that, especially with getting the kids involved. That makes a huge difference in also how they learn about your businesses and maybe start to express interest in their own entrepreneurship skills. I know when I started my businesses, I tried to get my son into the editing of the podcast, or at least to get him to help me market it and understand what it meant. And he learned a bit listening to the episodes and listening to the stories of some of my guests. So it's always good to ease them in. And hopefully it's not like a chore for them. I know when you make it a chore, they get a little annoyed, but when you make it fun, then everybody wants to participate. So thanks for those tips. So let's talk about your course now. What's the name of it? Who did you make it for? And what are your top 5 tips from it?
Okay, so the course is called How to Nail Your Digital Marketing. And like I said, it was just born out of necessity. A lot of people were reaching out to me, asking how I got started with Money Talk with Tiff. And so the whole course is pretty much taking you behind the scenes of everything that I used to have or currently have, and like just the background of my operation. So I made it for entrepreneurs that are struggling with digital marketing. Maybe they are just getting started, or maybe they're stuck. A lot of people, they have businesses, but they just can't break through in the digital side. Like, maybe they have a good local following or whatever, but in this day and age, in order to take it to the next level, you have to market outside of your local area. And I would even go as far as saying outside of your state, outside of your country, even sometimes. And a lot of people get stuck on the mentality that, oh, my family and friends need to help, need to be my main customers and things like that. And I will tell you from experience, in all these businesses that we have, now, don't get me wrong, family and friends do support, but they are not our main customers. And so you have to kind of realize that, and using digital marketing puts you on a bigger stage than just locally. So to get into your next question, some 5 tips that I have around digital marketing. 1, make sure you know your audience, right? So it's funny, I had just got off the phone with my mom a few minutes ago, and she is now going through the whole digital marketing process. Like, she's had her business for years, but she's like, I just can't break through. So now she's finally making a website, finally making a logo, all that stuff. And she was like, yeah, all these years I've had my business, and, nobody around me has really bought my services. And I told her, that's not your audience. And then she was like, oh, well, if I put the price too high, then people aren't going to buy it. I'm like, the people you're thinking about are probably not your audience, So, I was kind of coaching her through the idea that, people spend on what they want to spend on. And so if you think that your price point won't hit the people that you think are your audience, then you may need to rethink your audience. I wouldn't say discount yourself for that. There are people that are out here that will spend the money and will know your worth, because it all goes down to your worth and your value. And so all of that to say, know your audience. And then you can use digital marketing, whether it's social media. And when I say social media, there's a lot of it out there right now. There's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's Twitter, there's Pinterest, there's LinkedIn, there's TikTok. And a lot of people get stuck on, oh, well, which one do I use? And when do I use it? And how much to post? And all of this and all of that. But you can't narrow that down unless you know who you're talking to. So for instance, if you have a service or a product that's aimed at let's say businesses, you'll probably use LinkedIn more than you would use Facebook. But let's say you have a product or service that is for 20-year-olds, you'll probably be using more Twitter or TikTok or something like that to go to that audience. So you have to know your audience. So that's number one. Number two, have a website as your home base. I cannot stress this enough. A lot of people think, oh, well, I have a Facebook page, or I have blase, insert something here. You need a website. And the reason I say that is because when you start advertising yourself to people, you want them to land on a place that's all about you. Like, they can go to Facebook, but as you know, when you go on Facebook, you get to scrolling and, you done lost your audience because that's not your platform, right? So I tell people to always make sure you have a website, a home base for your audience. And it could be a simple one pager. It doesn't even have to be extravagant. You can start adding stuff as you go along, but just to start, do a little one pager. We have one business. Oh, that's the business I forgot, Catman Express. But we have one business, Catman Express, where the website is literally one page. I created it that way on purpose. It doesn't need anything extravagant. And so it doesn't matter if you just start with one page, just make sure you have somewhere that your audience can go in order to stay in touch with you. The third thing, be consistent with your content. This is another place where people go wrong. Now, I'm preaching to the choir here. I'm preaching to myself because I even struggle with consistency. Matter of fact, I haven't launched a podcast episode since October, but I'm getting back on it this week. But that's neither here nor there. Be consistent with your content, especially when you are first getting started, because people are going to want to keep hearing from you, and that's how you hook people in. And speaking of content, be authentic. Don't try to create content that you don't feel. I'm very woo-woo. So make sure you feel your content, because if you don't, people can sense that through the screen and it's not going to work. So be authentic and be consistent with whatever you are putting out, whether it's a podcast, videos for a YouTube channel, articles for a blog. It doesn't matter. Just be consistent. 4, slow and steady wins the race. I remember when I first started, woo child, I was like, ain't nobody looking at my blog. I was like, is it even worth doing this? Like, I got 1-2 little readers, whatever, but I still kept consistently putting the content out. And as I kept doing that, the word started getting around, more people started, watching, listening, reading, and it took off from there. So even if, and then I will warn you, when you hear other people talking about their numbers, it might make you feel like, well, dang, what am I doing wrong? But what you don't understand is what's going on in the background. How long have they been having it? So when you are in a space, don't try to compare yourself to other people, because everybody's journey is different. And see, if I would have kept trying to beat the numbers, or, kept listening to people, oh, I got 100 downloads this month, when I was sitting at 10, you know what I'm saying? It would have been easy for me to give up, but I cut out all of that chatter and I just kept doing what I was doing. And like I said, slow and steady wins the race. So now I'm a little over 3 years in. So December was my 3rd year anniversary. And I will tell you, if back when I first started this, you would have said, Tiffany, you would be where you are now, I would look at you like you was crazy. But that just goes to show that if you are consistent, you're steady, don't try to do it too fast. Don't try to, be the person like, oh, I want to be the top of the game, comparing yourself to people that's been doing this for 10-30 years. Just stay in your lane, stay at your own pace. Everybody's journey is different. And with that, don't try to do it all. So that's kind of where so that's my number 5. That's kind of where I struggled when I first started. I was like, ooh, I got to be on Facebook. I got to be on Twitter. I got to be on Instagram. I got to be everywhere because I want everybody to know about financial literacy. Yeah, it was cool, but guess what? I wore myself out, So as I started getting more in tune with who my audience was, because at first I was like, everybody needs to know about financial literacy. Everybody's my audience. Like anytime somebody would ask me that, I'd be like, everybody, I want everybody to hear this. I don't care if you little or old, black, white, it don't matter. Everybody needs to hear this. But if you operate your business from that standpoint, you'll find yourself doing a lot of nothing. Right. So I did a lot of nothing for a good year or two. I just recently started getting on the right track as far as, nailing down my audience and things. But I say that to say, don't try to do it all. Find the platforms that you will succeed in. So if you like writing, start a blog. If you like talking, start a podcast. If you love being on video, do a YouTube channel and focus on that at first. And then you can start expanding into other things. And then just one more tip. I know we said 5, but I'm going to give you one more. Stay organized, right? So I use a lot of tools to stay organized, from things to schedule my social media posts to Google Drive to hold all of my assets and things. So when I say assets, I'm talking about, pictures that I use for my blog, stock photos, my colors, like all that stuff. It definitely makes a difference, because if you have ever tried to work on a website, you know that there are hundreds of thousands of colors out there, and you might guess and think that, whatever color you just picked for some title or whatever is your color. And 9 times out of 10 is probably not your brand color. So make sure that you have, the hex codes, the RBG codes, all of that. So that way you can stay consistent with your brand too. So I know I did a lot of talking. Let me know if you need me.
It's quite all right. No, okay. That was perfect. I think you gave a lot of gems, and I hope people actually were taking notes. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I just want to take a second to give you an update on Terry Ijeoma. She is a former assistant principal who was making $40,000 a year and taught herself how to trade, and eventually replaced her income and far exceeded it. Well, Terry has a course called Trade and Travel, and 1,000 of her students are making $1,000 a day. Oh my God, that is amazing. Do you know what that means? That means collectively, they're making $1 million a day trading in the market, which is changing the trajectory of their families and what they can save and invest for their future. If you want to learn more about how to trade, I totally recommend you take Terry's course and check out my blog, thepurposeofmoney.com/invest, to learn more about Terry Ijeoma and her course, Trade and Travel. Don't forget, check out thepurposeofmoney.com/invest to learn more about Terry's course today. Now back to the episode. I'm going to put some links in the show notes to really help you remember some of the tips that Tiff just shared. But I agree with you. You have to have some type of focus in the beginning. Otherwise, you'll be all over the place. But once you focus, you can go hard in the paint. So that's like one of the benefits, to just really stay in the course and the platform that works for you and the business that works for you. Mm-hmm. So thanks for sharing those tips. No problem. The name of the podcast is called The Purpose of Money. So I'm asking all my guests this: what is your purpose for money?
My purpose for money is I want to use money as a tool to make sure that my kids have a different experience than I did when I was growing up. I want them to be able to look at me and say, my mom was hardworking. She did whatever she needed to do, and we have something handed down to show for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know in my family, there ain't nothing to hand down. Like, if somebody was to pass away, I ain't getting nothing. I don't even know if they got life insurance. But I want to make sure that my kids are like, my mom left me this house. She left us this property. She left us this, that, or the other, because I want to pass on a legacy. And I want to make sure that I'm setting them up for financial success. So that is my purpose for money.
Love it. Love it. And if anyone needs life insurance, Aquania is here to help.
Okay.
I'm teasing Tiffany because she knows we've worked together in the past to help some of her clients get covered. So without further ado, please tell my listeners, where can they find you on all things social and, of course, on your website?
You know, I got one. So MoneyTalkWithT.com is where you can find everything. So that's where you can find the blog, you can find the podcast, you can find all my social media links, which is why I said you need a home base. But nevertheless, it's there, MoneyTalkWithT.com. You can find me Money Talk with Tiff on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and you can find my podcast, Money Talk with Tiff, on all major platforms.
Love it, guys. Please check out the podcast, the website, and of course, How to Nail Digital Marketing. I'm going to include a link in the show notes. If you are an entrepreneur or someone working with a side hustle and you need to market yourself, your products, or your services, you definitely need to check out this course. Tiffany, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I am super excited to share this with my listeners, and I hope to have you again soon when you launch your next venture.
Of course. Thank you so much, Aquania, for having me. You know, I love you. I love your brand. I love what you got going on. So I was honored when you asked me to come on and talk with you today.
Absolutely. Bye, guys. Until next time, keep building generational wealth $1 at a time.
Thank you for listening to the Purpose of Money podcast. For more resources and information, check out my website, thepurposeofmoney.com. And while you're there, please sign up for our newsletter so you have the latest information on new episodes and blog posts. Until next time, keep creating freedom in your life today